Hi, so now you know pretty much everything you need to know about Rousseau's concept. There are, however, two major points that I would like to talk about, among others. The first one is that in Rousseau's concept, there is no check, no security against the tyranny of the majority. The other one is that actually Rousseau advocates for a direct democracy. Rousseau doesn't believe in elected representative democracy. So we'll talk today about those two aspects as well as others. Basically, what we will do, we will look at modern democracies through the prism of Rousseau's thinking. Let's start by comparing the two forms of social contract. As a reminder, in Rousseau's social contract, the terms are as follows. You have to give up all your jungle rights, but in exchange, you gain unspecified conventional rights that are determined by the will of the general interest. In the social contract, we also lay out the form of governance allowing to determine that will of the general interest. So basically, citizen assemblies, frequent votes, and so on. In modern democracies, the terms are roughly the same. However, there's one major difference. Now in modern democracies, in the constitution, in the social contract, you also have some specified fundamental rights that are listed in the constitution. Those are constitutional rights. So the terms are as follows. Again, you have to give up all your jungle rights. And again, you gain unspecified conventional rights, which this time are determined by the will of Parliament. And as I said, you gain constitutional freedoms. You gain specified fundamental rights. In the social contract, again, we also lay out a form of governance allowing to check and balance the powers of Parliament and ensure that those constitutional freedoms will never be infringed. So in practice, it means that a Supreme Court will be set up. Please note also that, as I said, this fuzzy concept of the will of the general interest goes away. Now, it's no longer the will of the general interest that determines what will be your unspecified conventional rights. It's Parliament that does. Now let's talk about finding the right balance between conventional rights and fundamental rights. So, as I said, the goal of constitutional rights, one of its goals is to prevent the tyranny of the majority. And you may think, wow, that's a great idea. And to be on the safe side, should we list all the rights we can think of and enshrine them in the Constitution? Just to be safe. Is that a good idea? Well, no, it's not. So first of all, just as a reminder, why doesn't Rousseau advocate for constitutional rights? Why does he think that they are not needed? Well, Rousseau wrongfully assumes that all citizens are affected by laws in the same way. So because it's a direct democracy, when you vote a law, you're going to be impacted by that law as much as everyone else. So you will not vote for a law that is unfair to you, and therefore you will not vote for a law that is unfair. But you and I, we have experience of democracy, and we know that even though the law is the same for everyone, not everyone is affected by a law the same way, depending on your age group, depending on whether you're a member of a minority, and so on. So that's why you need fundamental freedoms, that's why you need constitutional freedoms to make sure that the majority will not vote for laws that are unfair because they actually don't really apply to them, they mostly apply to you. Okay, so that's why Rousseau doesn't advocate for constitutional rights. But let's come back to that question. Should we list all the rights we can think of and enshrine them in the Constitution? Just to be on the safe side. No, it's still a bad idea. Only rights that are critical to a functioning democracy, as well as rights that are essential to protecting minorities, should be enshrined in a constitution. Let me give you two examples of rights that have been wrongfully enshrined in some constitution. What I'm saying, I'm not saying that those rights are wrong. What I'm saying is that they should have merely been conventional rights, not constitutional rights. My first example is the Second Amendment of the American Constitution. So I quote, "A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed." And you see here in this wording that the framers were actually making a choice between trade-offs, between the need to ensure the security of a free state and the dangers entailed by allowing people to keep and bear arms freely. This is, however, what a gun looked like when they enshrined this right, and this is what a gun looks like today. Again, I'm not saying that guns should be illegal. What I'm saying is that if they are to be legal, they should be so thanks to a conventional right, i.e., thanks to a law voted by Parliament, not thanks to a constitutional right. Why? Well, because constitutions are meant to last virtually forever. And as a consequence, constitutions should not choose between trade-offs that depend on parameters that can dramatically evolve over time. Guns are a technology, and technologies can dramatically evolve over time. So it's not the job of the Constitution to rule on how to balance evolving trade-offs. It's the job of Parliament. Other example, but same idea. Public pensions in Brazil. In Brazil, the constitution enshrines the right of every man starting from age 65 and every woman starting from age 60 to a public pension. And again, I'm not saying that it is wrong to retire at that age. What I'm saying is that the decision of the Brazilian constitution to enshrine that age, 65 and 60, it's a choice between trade-offs that evolve over time. Those trade-offs depend on parameters such as life expectancy, the age pyramid, and so on. And those things change over time. Making such choices is not the job of a constitution, it's the job of Parliament.